Hello and welcome to another video on my channel, Corey's Cave. If you're new, I hope you enjoy this information that I'm going to share with you. And if you've been around for a while, thanks for being around. And if you enjoy this, give me a thumbs up. Today we're going to be talking about vermis terra worm castings. This is a company that reached out to me. They're based out of California, from what I can tell. And I got a few different products from them. One of them is the earthworm castings, and then I got two different forms of a liquid. And those will be coming in a later video that I'll be experimenting with the liquids. But for now, let's work with the worm castings. Now I've already recorded all this, and somehow I lost the recording. I don't know if I hit delete by accident or what, but so I'm just going to tell you what I did in this part. The rest of the content I still have, so don't worry about that. That'll be in this video. Per the recommendations, it says to use 3 parts of your grow medium to 1 part of the earthworm castings. So I took some coco coir and I took 3 parts of that and added 1 part of the earthworm castings. Mix that up real good and you'll be seeing me plant that in just a minute. Now why would I want to use something like earthworm castings in coco coir? Well, there's a really good reason for that. Coco coir has little to no nutrient value in it. Little to no nitrogen and such. So you can grow microgreens in coco coir alone, and they'll do okay, but they just won't get very big and very lush. And you're gonna have to cut them sooner than you might want to because they're just gonna start starving for nutrients. I'm hoping that the earthworm castings is a way to be able to supply the nutrients without using a chemical fertilizer that I would normally use. I would normally use like a hydroponic solution and I would water that in, and that stuff works phenomenally, but it's not organic. This is an organic solution, and that's why I want to try this out. Now I've got 2 sets of trays here. They have a tray with holes and a tray without holes. And we're gonna put 3 scoops, cereal bowl, Tony the Tiger scoops in each tray of the mix of coco coir and worm castings. Now we just gotta spread this out. I can already tell you just from how dense the worm castings are and how much there is per tray, or per the mix of the coco coir, that you don't need this much. I think you could easily do half as much. So for every 3 scoops of coco coir, you could probably do half a scoop of the worm castings rather than a full scoop. But we'll do it as the bag says to start off and see how it does. Now I've got more than enough worm castings coco coir mix left to do at least 1 more tray. So we'll do 3 trays of the mix versus 3 trays of just straight coco coir. Now let's go get some water on these and be right back. Alright, now that we've got our trays all watered in, nice and damp here, we'll start planting some seed. One of them that we're gonna compare against is going to be real simple. This is just China Rose. It's organic China Rose radish from True Leaf Market. And we will do 3 tablespoons per tray. Then we're going to do spicy salad mix in another tray. The spicy salad mix is a good one to do because it's got so many different varieties in it. We'll really be able to see if there's a difference. We are going to do just 1 tablespoon. I want to go nice and light. I don't want to have too much crowding on this. Looking at it, you'd be really tempted to put more in there, and you can. But I find you're going to get a lot better results if you plant really light rather than really dense. And now for our final tray, we are going to do red garnet amaranth. And one of the reasons I'm doing this is For one, it could be a really interesting to see how it does with the earthworm castings, but the other reason is that this is going to be the top tray, so it's going to get stacked with radish, mix, and then the amaranth, and the amaranth will just get an upside down tray over as a blackout dome. For this, we're going to do just about 3/4 of a tablespoon, maybe a little bit more. Amaranth, you want to make sure you spread really even, because if you have any clumps at all, it can really cause problems. Clumps is where you'll get your dampen off issues. All right, now we'll just stack them up. We'll put the radish on the bottom. We'll put our amaranth on the top. I'll take this blackout dome, or upside down tray, and it will sit just like this. And I'll place it on the top of my racks, my grow racks, which is in a separate room right now, because this room isn't that warm, as you might have saw in another video. And that's where they'll stay until we're ready to unstack them. I'm gonna do the same exact thing for the coco coir that's just straight coco coir. And when I unstack these trays, that's when we'll start comparing the results. All right, so let's see what we've got going on here with our worm castings versus our straight up coco coir. Now I had some germination issues with the worm casting trays, and I don't really know why. I find it hard to believe it had anything to do with the worm castings being added. But in either case, I am going to be running another experiment where I add in some perlite and actually half as much worm castings as I did this time around, and just see what that does. So like I said, I don't think the germination was from the worm castings, but you never know. So what we have is the amaranth here. The front row is all worm castings. The back is straight coco coir. And I will pull them out to put them side by side in a minute here to show you exactly what we got. So we got amaranth. You see all the poor germination, but the amaranth itself looks just fine, no issues. Got the regular amaranth back there, which stayed a lot darker. The leaves didn't get very big. We've got radish versus this radish. Radish, it turns out, is not a very good test sample for something like this, because it grows just fine in regular coco coir. You don't really need to add nutrients for the radish. Where you're gonna see the huge difference is with this spicy salad mix. So this is worm castings. See how the leaves are all nice and big? And that's straight coco coir. So let me get these trays side by side so you can really see what's going on. So let's first look at our red garnet amaranth. Now there's some major differences here, but that could be attributed to the poor germination. Now the reason that would be is that I had such poor germination on this tray that I kept a humidity dome on it for a day longer than I did this tray. I don't think that's what we're seeing here. Why these leaves are getting bigger and greener and these ones are staying small and red, I think that's probably attributed to the nutritional value of the worm castings, allowing this amaranth to get much larger than this amaranth. There's probably just not enough nutrition in the coco coir to get these to really pop much, but I'm not 100% sure. Like I said, this is round one. We will be doing at least one more round. Here we have our China Rose radish, this one being straight coco coir, and this one having the worm castings. Now that I have them side by side, you can see there's a significant difference. The radish with the worm castings is larger. The leaves are definitely greener. See the difference there? These are kind of pale green. These are a nice deep green. And they're much larger leaves on this radish than there are on this radish. I don't know if you can really see the difference there. I don't know that it's a big enough difference to be worth it for radish, but let you be the judge of that. Another thing I am really noticing is that this radish appears to be a darker red to me. This is just coco coir. And this one seems more of a pale red. Does it look like that to you guys in the camera? That's what I'm seeing. Now I think that's because this radish grew faster and taller. And I've noticed that with all microgreens, especially radish, that if they grow faster, the stems don't stay as dark. And you'll notice a difference from different light too. Like these were all grown under the same light, but if you had a very powerful light on one, they will not grow very tall, but they'll stay much darker stem. I actually prefer the darker stem to the lighter stem, but you're gonna get a lot less yield out of the shorter ones than you will the taller ones. So in this case, I say I kind of in ways prefer the straight coco coir, but I do prefer the larger leaves and the darker green of the worm castings. So I'm not going to say there was no difference with the radish. There clearly is a difference. I didn't think there was until I got them side by side. Now here is where I noticed a huge, drastic difference. I mean, they're not even close. Night and day. This is the spicy salad mix. On the right, we have worm castings with coco coir. And on the left, we have just coco coir. Now you can see these are starved for nutrients. They're sort of stunted at this point. They're not really growing any bigger. Where these have nice, big, beautiful leaves. So the difference here is just, it's dramatic. The coco coir straight up, I don't think these will even grow much more. I've run into that before where they get kind of stagnant and they just stop. They won't really produce much more than that. Where these ones with the worm castings, they have not run out of nutrients at all, and these could continue to grow for a while, but they're not going to because I'm about to harvest them. But just look at that canopy difference. So what I really like about this is all 100% organic. The coco coir was organic, the worm castings organic. There's no non-organic chemicals or anything like that added in. Now people say, they keep repeating it, I don't know why this is still brought up, but that you don't need nutrients, that microgreens grow just fine with no nutrients at all. Do you still believe that? That's not true. Yeah, they will grow. If you want these teeny little, nutrient-starved microgreens, they'll grow just fine. But if you want a nice, lush, full microgreen, grown the way it's really intended to look, you're gonna need some sort of nutrient value. And because of that, if you're gonna use coco coir, add in some worm castings is absolutely worth it. Now, as you can see, this stuff really works. Huge improvement. I definitely noticed it when I was actually harvesting those microgreens. Sorry I didn't record that. I think you guys have seen that enough. But harvesting the salad blend, the spicy salad mix, was a big difference. I could tell cutting the ones that used the earthworm castings that they were much more tender and just all around nicer microgreen. They were also way easier to harvest because they were a lot taller, where the ones that were just coco coir were kind of miserable. They were only like, half-inch tall, maybe. They felt a little bit harder. They didn't feel really as tender. And it was just a big difference. So I will be definitely using at least earthworm castings in my coco coir mix, or I'll be using one of their earthworm teas or something like that. Like I said, we'll get into the liquids later on. If you're interested in trying this product, you can go to their website and order through them and use the code Corey's Cave. In checkout, you'll find that there's like a blue bar towards the top before you enter in your address and everything. And it'll say if you have a coupon, click here. You click there, it expands a little bit. Enter in Corey's Cave and get 10% off. With that, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Don't let anybody tell you that microgreens do not need nutrients, because they absolutely do a whole lot better if you do use them. Thanks for watching.